My name is Rocco Lotito. I immigrated here in 1956 from Reggio Calabria. I was 8 years old when I came here. My father was a stonemason. My mother was a housewife. She used to pick olives. I have four brothers, with me five, and one sister. Times were hard. My dad was never in the town. I mean, he was traveling all over the place. My sister got married through a picture, so she came here first, and then my father with my brother, and then we all came. There was a lot of discrimination, WAP, TP, which at the beginning I didn't understand what it was, and I would say from grade 5 and 6, I started to understand it. And it was a problem. I mean, we got into a lot of fights because of that. High school wasn't any better. Quit in grade 11. Started working in Tip Top Tailors in their office. Got married. Quit my job, and then I went into construction, into the form work. I started in construction in '72, and it was in Mississauga. Cathra, and I think it was Lakeshore, if I'm not mistaken. So that was my first job. It was a 16-story high-rise building. I had a friend from the same town that my dad knew, and he took me in, and I started. As a matter of fact, I started in the middle of winter, and when I got home the first day, I couldn't move my thumb or my fingers because it was with the hammer and so forth. But I stuck it out, and it's been good for me, and that's how I started. And when I started, it was all pretty well wood, really, 2x4s, 4x4s, and so forth. When you used to fly your panels out, material used to be falling like crazy on the floors, so you had to pick it up, bring it up, and so forth. In those days, we didn't have a harness, where today you have a full harness where the rope catches you. Ours was strictly like a belt, and you could only go maybe hook it up to a piece of 2x4 and walk maybe about not even 10 feet, and then you had to unhook it and hook it back on. Sometimes people used to take chances because they didn't want to get laid off or fired, and then you always had another person that would do it. In case you didn't want to do it, there was always somebody there to do it. So a lot of them were scared. Falls, broken legs, arms, scratches, and so forth. But the worst one was when just before Christmas, when the person, a form hit him on the head, and he got paralyzed from the neck down. What happened to him should not have happened. Let's put it that way. But it was construction in those days. That's how it was. We were immigrants, and some of them didn't even speak English. It was always things, so they were scared. I mean, they had a family to take care of, so they would do stuff that you wouldn't do today. And then once the union came in, it changed. It started changing. I started with the union in 1981. A gentleman was a business rep, Lou Castaldo, came over and he says, "You're now the shop steward," which at that time I didn't know what a shop steward was, and I said, "What is it that I got to do?" "Well, you speak English and Italian. This way, I have better communication." So that's how with the union thing it started, with being a shop steward. Right after I got a letter saying you've been appointed as a shop steward, I get fired. So the gentleman, the business rep that actually appointed me, Lou Castaldo, came over and he shut the job down, and I went back to work. Okay, I started off as a business rep. I became sector coordinator, then assistant business manager, and then secretary treasurer and then back to assistant business manager. First of all, you had to get respect from the men, that they trusted you to say certain things, okay? And sometimes some stewards ended up that the companies ended up giving them extra money, so they became more company men than they were actually union men. And it was hard to find good people that would take that, that wanted to be stewards, because the only protection that they had really was that their job was safe. Other than that, they weren't making any more money or anything. I used to take care of the downtown and I used to take care of the forming, on the concrete forming in the buildings. We started organizing. That's the time we organized the framers, which were the ones that are building the houses. Started fighting for benefits. There were a few strikes here and there. I mean, I shut down a lot of jobs that were unsafe, and it helped. You had to do it. I mean, there were companies that were taking advantage of everything, and there were the good companies. Once the union came into the picture, you had better safety, protection in the point of sense of benefits. You had better representation, that you used to fight for your rights, and you were treated like a human being. I mean, it's and they fought for us the same way when I became a rep, I fought for them. Until then, I mean, it was, they didn't like you. You know what, you were gone, they didn't care. To me, a building wasn't anything really, but today, when I was working at the union, and I see these buildings like the Empress Walk on Yonge Street, that was, that's how, that was a hell of a project. And you feel proud, because these are the workers really that's built that those things. In our days back in the 80s, you didn't see 60-story or 70-story buildings. I mean, the way you build is a little bit different. It's a lot faster. The materials are better. Concrete is better. Good organization and better orchestrated in the point of sense for the safety, for the safety of the person. Where in our days, you used to sometimes, as you go along, you used to make things up. That's how it was.